Hi everybody, it's me Jessica, your health fitness program manager from McLean. Getting my space ready for our awesome Express Mind Body class today. It's a Tuesday, so we've only got 30 minutes together. If you're here a little early, maybe spray a room with something that smells nice. Get your mat out. I recommend having a block today, possibly even a strap. I'm still struggling with the lighting situation, so please enjoy my extra cozy dog on the couch. We're gonna get started in 2 minutes in child's pose at the back of the mat. You're not gonna stay? You're not gonna stay for the yoga? Okay. It's your loss. It's your loss, Uncle Buck. All right, well, the rest of us are gonna get started. In 3 amazing minutes. Let me just make sure things are showing up all right over here. Oh, looks great. Looks fabulous. So since we have a minute or so before we get started, I know I always like to come to any sort of yoga class early. Ugh, gosh. A great opportunity to unfortunately tuck my shirt into my pants, which is one of my least favorite things to do. I can't lie. That's why it's never tucked in before we get started, because I don't tuck my shirts into my pants. All right, so we've got still 2 more amazing minutes for you to tuck your shirt into your pants, to grab a block, to have something to be a little supportive when we do some of our hip openers. Make sure that you do have plenty of space around you, particularly towards the front and the back of your mat for your arms and your legs to lift up. Feel free to just get any stretches that feel good for you as you start to make your way down to the floor before class starts. It's a beautiful time to start tuning into your breath. And just find what feels right for your body. Hopefully it's a stretch that we'll get to address together. This is my ice latte. I'm sorry, Uncle Buck. But you don't have to wait. Maybe you want to already come into your child's pose. Which way am I going to face today? I think that's a smart idea. Don't you, Uncle Buck? I do. Sometimes I think we avoid really tuning into how our bodies feel because we're just not ready to give it the love that it really needs. Whether that means that you know your body needs some more stretching, or maybe you just in general recognize that you're not getting the same movement that you used to and your body just wants that movement, but getting started can be so hard. So I want to let you know that if all you're doing today is just listening to class, if you're not quite ready to get moving, or you're in that contemplation phase, listening is a great way to get started, because you never know when you're going to listen in a class and be like, oh, that seems neat, that looks fun, I want to do that. And I'd be so honored if you felt that way with me. Oh my gosh, it's time. So let's go ahead and come to the back of our mat towels. We're going to get started in child's pose. Option for you to keep your legs closed and feel a little bit of pressure on your belly, where you can open those knees a little bit wider, as wide as you want to even bring the stretch towards your inner thighs. Start to walk those hands forward, as far forward as feels good for you today. And remember, if your shoulders are super tired, you can take a very generous bend of your elbows. Support your forearms by your side, and if that's too much, you can even reach your hands behind you in a little bit more of a tadpole. A tadpole instead of a frog. It's so cute. Yay, let's hang out here for 5 grounding breaths. Work to make each inhale a little bit longer than your exhale every time. And make sure that you're getting all of your stale air out on each exhale so that each inhale can be a little bit longer, stronger, fuller, fresher. Work towards inhaling through your nose, and if you can exhale through your nose, great. But if you feel it's more comfortable to exhale through your mouth, that's awesome too. We're going to take a little bit of a side reach, so keeping your body back towards the back of the mat. You can walk your hands over to the right as much as feels good for you, and even start to push your hips gently over to the left to get a nice stretch starting in the upper body, even more down through the sides. Take one more big inhale, and on your exhale, walk your hands back through center. Take as many steps as you need to, and then from center, walk over to the opposite side, whichever is opposite for you. 2 big breaths right here, right now. And then use that next exhale to walk back to the center, keeping our chests low to the floor. We're going to pull ourselves forward like a beautiful snake and come into cobra. What's back here? It's my block. Maybe you want to come into a baby cobra with your forearms down on the mat, or maybe you'd like to come into a big cobra. We're just going to hang out here for a second before we transition into down dog. So go ahead and relax and release your chest back down towards the floor. Tuck those back toes under. You might need to walk your hands back just a little bit, especially if you are in more of a sphinxy cobra. All right, and from there, start to press the toes into the floor. Squeeze your glutes. Go ahead, push yourself up and send your hips up towards the ceiling. Belly comes towards thighs. You can open your feet a little bit more for some stability. Take a moment here in this down dog, bringing your biceps by your ears and your eyes. Gently gaze maybe down towards the floor, maybe towards your toes. Find as straight of a spine as you can. Let's take those wrinkles out of our necks. Take one more big inhale, and on our exhale, we're going to pull ourselves forward to come into a high plank. So squeeze those shoulder blades towards each other, pull your belly in. Your hips should be about in line with your shoulders, but no higher. We're going to roll over onto a side plank. You can keep your feet staggered or stacked. Take one more big inhale. Exhale, come back to your high plank. Inhale, come on to your side plank on the opposite side. One more big breath. Exhale, back down to your high plank. And then go ahead, inhale your hips back up towards the ceiling. Once again, feel free to shorten your step as we find ourselves again in down dog. Feel free to pedal through your heels, maybe taking some generous bends of your knees. Find what feels good for you. You can shift your body forward and backwards. Let's take a moment and bring our knees down towards the floor and just sit on our heels for a second so we can get a nice little warm up into those wrists. Fred, stop throwing your peanuts at my mat. Problems. All right, just warming those wrists up, finding what feels good, just moving things in different directions, getting away from our desks, because we're going to come right back down to the floor. We're going to tuck those toes under again, send our hips up, and find ourselves in down dog. Go ahead, plant your right foot on the floor. Inhale your left. I'm just going to do the opposite of what it looks like. Plant your right foot on the floor. Inhale your left leg up towards the ceiling, and notice if you open yourself out to the left side and square that chest back down towards the floor. You can make some circles with your ankle in one direction and the opposite direction, and then we're going to shift the weight forward, draw that knee forward as much as we can, and plant the foot down as we come into a nice little hip opener. So if the floor feels really far away, now is the time for you to use that block on the floor to help you come into this hip opener, to take that extra rounding and crunch out of the back, so lengthen your spine as much as you can. Take a big inhale. On your exhale, we're going to release the back knee down to the floor and untuck our back toes. Take 2 more breaths right here. Bring a smile to your face if you can. And on your exhale, we're going to walk our hands back as we come into a nice half split. Ooh, starting to stretch into that front leg hamstring. You can bring the stretch more into your calf by flexing your toes back towards your face. Maybe you even want to sit down a little bit deeper, no pressure. You can still get even more of a stretch instead of sitting your glutes down towards your heel by finding some rounding in your back if your back feels good and bringing your nose to your knee. But if your back doesn't feel good, you can also bring your hands to your hips here and do this whole hip opening little circuit that we're going to do lifted instead of hands on the floor. All right, from here we're going to shift the weight forward, so if you need to, you can keep your hands at your hips. If you want that extra stretch, we're coming back down to the floor, and we're going to work to go a little bit deeper if that feels right for your body today. So coming into, oop, did you hear that? So coming into lizard, we're going to allow that front knee to fall to the side as you work to bring your forearms down to the mat. It's okay if your foot rolls out towards the outer edge of the pinky toe. We'll take 2 more breaths right here. We're going to stay in our hip opener. Use your exhale to lift yourself up. Keep that chest square to the front and bend your back knee. From here, we're going to add in a nice little quad stretch. So if you're the same as me and your left foot is forward and your right foot is back, you're going to place your right hand down on the floor. You're going to reach back with your left hand and maybe you can grab hold of your foot. Oh my gosh, this is so intense. And maybe you can't, and that knee can fall out to the side like it did a second ago in lizard. Let's take 2 more breaths. If you can't reach your foot, you can just bend that knee and reach towards it and hopefully still feel a little stretch on your quad. On your exhale, relax your foot back down to the floor. Bring your left hand down to meet with your right. Tuck your right toes under, lift that knee up. We're going to go ahead, send the left leg back. Take a moment in plank. Inhale, hips up towards the ceiling. Find ourselves again in down dog. Remember, you can take that bend of your knees, find that flat back, long spine. This time keeping your left foot planted to the floor. Inhale your right leg up all the way towards the ceiling. Notice if you open, whoa, to the right side, and keep that chest squared down towards the mat. Make some circles with your ankle in one direction. And then in the opposite direction, work to plant that left heel a little closer to the floor. We're going to draw our right knee forward and then plant it down. Stay lifted for just a second. Remember, if the floor is too far away, if you don't have a block, you can stay lifted right here. Otherwise, if it feels good, get a little bit lower. Use your exhale and bring your back knee down towards the floor. Untuck your back toes, hanging out for just a second. In a slightly deeper hip opener. Notice if your shoulders were making their way towards your ears, mine were, and work to find a little extra length. Can you bring your whole hand palm down to the floor as opposed to tenting on your fingers and creating a little extra stress? We're going to use our breath, that exhale, to start to walk your hips back towards your heel. You can keep this as passive as you want, either staying lifted with your front toe on the floor. You can get your calf involved, stretching your front toe back to your face. You also have that option, if your back's feeling good, to lower yourself down to round down, or, ooh, that's a big stretch on that inner thigh, to sit those glutes a little closer towards your heels. Find that space of your shoulder. Let's use our inhale to lift ourselves back up. Come forward again into our hip opener. And then allow that knee to fall heavy towards the side as we come into lizard. Maybe you can bring your forearms down towards the mat and just be here a little bit deeper, just a couple of breaths. A couples literally too, so pick yourself back up. Go ahead, bend that back knee. So the left leg is bent, left hand stays on the floor. Find some length through your spine as you start to reach your right hand back to your foot. Maybe you can grab it. Maybe you can't, but still keep pressing your hips forward as you, oh my gosh, it just popped into my hand. As you reach for that back foot, and if you are able to grab it, you're gonna feel a bigger stretch on the quad. This was the one stretch with an opportunity to bring, oh my gosh, a strap into play. Go ahead, release. Oh, place both hands down on the floor. We're gonna go ahead, lift up from the back leg. We're gonna step both feet forward. I'm just gonna turn slightly because I'm limited in space, and we're gonna come on into a squat. Yay, so you step both your feet forward and we come into a squat. It helps if you turn your feet out to about a 45-degree angle. Once again, you can have your hands down on the floor. If the floor feels really far away, feel free to shift that weight a little right and left. I like to shift my weight and really like clamshell, open my legs side to side. Oh, that is the stretch that my body needs to feel throughout the quads, a little in the glutes, the hamstrings, the inner outer thighs. Let's go ahead and come into our stillness right here. So working to release our feet to the floor. If your feet are nowhere near the floor, you just might need to open them a little bit wider. All right, can you bring your hands palms to the center of your chest? It's okay if you need to leave them down on the floor. Let's take 2 breaths here. We're gonna stay in this squat, and we're gonna find a little bit of a twist. So, if you need the support of your hand on the floor, bring your right hand down to the floor, and you can reach your left arm up towards the ceiling. However, if you don't need the support of your hand on the floor, if you want something a little bit deeper, instead of bringing your right hand down to the floor, we're gonna take our right hand, we're gonna take the back of the fingers and bring them against the side of our body. So we're making like a chicken wing, and you're gonna bring your chicken wing inside of your right leg, and then reach your left arm up towards the ceiling. Still working to press the heels into the floor and to find some length through your spine. Take one more inhale and exhale. We're gonna switch other side. So the back of the fingers come towards the side of the body and then reach that arm up, or you have your left hand down on the floor for some grounding. It's okay if those heels don't quite touch the floor. Take one more inhale. Exhale, release your right hand down, left hand meets it. Oh, send those hips up towards the ceiling. Bring the weight into your heels and turn your toes forward for a nice little dangle. Use your inhale to come into a half lift. So find a nice straight spine. Your legs are as straight as you can get them to be. You're equally grounding your feet. And in your exhale, relax and release yourself down towards the floor. If your hands can reach the floor, great. If they can't, grab hold of your opposite elbow. We're enjoying a nice wide-legged fold to begin with. Ooh. Make sure you have some weight in your heels. You can even shift into a little bit of a squat, and we're gonna roll ourselves up. 1 vertebrae at a time. At the top, inhale your arms up overhead. Step your feet together. Feet about hips width distance apart or more narrow, and then exhale, bring your hands down to heart center. Take a moment here in a mountain pose with our hands in namaskar. Relax your shoulders from your ears. Return to your relaxed breath as much as possible. We're just gonna do a couple forward folds, get some big stretches on the back of our legs before we come back to that squat. All right, so really work to ground your feet to the floor. Take a moment and look down and notice if you're turning your feet out or in. Make sure your heels are in a line. That's why I really like to have my heels, toes next to each other. Sometimes I need to open my legs like a little bit of a book and then bring them back together so all the pages can be side by side. Beautiful. Grounding feet into the floor, pulling that belly in, squeezing hips and pushing them forward gently, just to be stacked in as straight a line as you can. Inhale your arms up overhead, pull your belly in. We're about to hinge forward. You can either rain down to the floor or swan dive down on that exhale. Inhale, come back into your half lift. Maybe your hands return to your thighs to help you engage your back and stretch through the crown of your head. And then exhale, back down into that forward fold. Inhale, let's bring the weight to our heels, squat, and slowly roll ourselves up. Arms come up overhead, and exhale, hands come down to heart center. We'll do the same thing one more time, just focusing on the big stretch on the back of the legs and releasing the back. So once more, inhale, stretch up. Forward fold or swan dive forward with that belly pulled in. Inhale, weight in your heels, half lift. Find length through your spine. And exhale back down into your forward fold. All right, from here, we're gonna heel toe those feet out wider. Turn your toes out to a 45-degree angle. And once again, release ourselves down back into our squat. Does it feel a little bit easier the second time around, now that you warmed your hamstrings up a little bit more, and we had those hip flexors warmed? Keep that chest lifted, keep your chin up. Notice where you have the weight in your feet and see if you can equally ground for 2 more breaths. Focus your eyes somewhere in front of you. Don't look right down at the floor. And on your next exhale, bring your hands to the floor. Bring those knees to the floor. Let's take a moment, give ourselves a quick little cat-cow. So with those nice straight arms pressing into your handsprings, feel free to shake your cat's tail. Meow. As that belly comes through with control towards the floor and the chest pulls forward, big arching of the back, and feel free to shake your cow's tail. Feel free to shake your cow's shoulder. Maybe you're shaking your head a little bit. You gotta find what feels good for you. So feel free to move slowly with some intention, but have fun creating some shapes with your body right now. Doesn't matter what you look like, you're just finding what feels good. Great. Go ahead, cross your back legs as opposed to your front legs. Cross your legs over behind you, and then walk your hand back and roll over so you find yourself on your glutes. You're amazing. From here, we got a little upright thread the needle, and then we're gonna do a recline thread the needle. I'm gonna turn around just to make sure you can see me a little bit better outside of the sunlight. Okay. So go ahead, bend your knees and place the soles of the feet down on the mat. You can bring your hands behind you for a little bit of support. We're going to take our right leg, start with that right leg and cross it over the left. Maybe you can walk that left foot in a little bit as you start to open that right knee towards the bottom of your mat. Perhaps you're already feeling a stretch and it might be really intense, and this is where you need to stay today. But if you can bring a little bit more with this nice open chest and straight spine, I want you to walk your hands up a little bit closer to bring your belly closer towards your thighs. Continue to work to keep your shoulders released from your ears and stay in control of your breath. I know that this stretch can be a little intense, especially for people who have back pain, so just be kind to yourself. We're going to do the same stretch in a moment when we finish with the opposite side with a little bit more spine support. All right, so feel free to walk your hands back. We're gonna uncross our legs. You can windshield wipe them if it feels good for you. It does feel good for me. All right, then go ahead, plant your feet again. I'm turning my fingers towards the back of my mat so I can really find that supported lift through my chest, because having my fingers pointing towards my glutes, for me, encourages me to take some rounding in that upper body and in the elbows, but simply turning my fingers towards the back of the mat encourages me to find that proud, lifted chest. So if you found you were collapsing last time, point your fingers to the back of the mat. You can walk your right leg as far as you need to cross your left over the right, and then either wiggle that in or walk your hands in a little bit closer. This is a great stretch, working into the glutes. Do you feel it? I feel it a lot. A lot. Keep your breath slow and relaxed. We'll take 2 more before we'll gently lay down on the floor. Awesome. Maybe walk your hands back to make it easier to uncross your legs. You can walk your feet out a little bit further. Make sure you have some space on your mat. And let's slowly lower ourselves down. You can use your abs and challenge your abs here by keeping your feet on the floor and bringing your arms up in a little bit of boat pose and just slowly lowering yourself down one vertebrae at a time, or find any way down to the floor that worked best for you. All right, from here, start to walk those legs in a little bit closer, and let's start again with that right leg. So pick your right leg up and cross it over the left, and then open that knee towards the back of the mat. So you can feel how much more supported your spine and especially your lower back are here. Focus on keeping that lower back and your tailbone as close to the mat as possible. But you have an option to lift your left leg up off of the floor, and once again bring the stretch a little bit more towards your glute as opposed to laying down on your back, how right now you might feel it a little bit more in your hip opening. Find what works for you. You can make it even deeper by threading the needle. Just make sure you're not lifting those glutes off the floor. Keep that lower back nice and ground. Work within your breath, and eventually you'll create some extra space in your body. 2 more breaths right here. I can feel my heart beating either big time in my middle finger or in my knee during that stretch. So cool. Go ahead, release, let's switch sides. It's so cool when you really quiet your mind and your body and your breath, the things that you hear and you notice. So let's take that in on the second side. Option to either keep that right foot ground and open your left leg up and enjoy that big opener of your hips. If you need to bring a little bit more of a stretch towards the glutes, go ahead, lift that right foot off the floor, but make sure that lower back stays in contact with the mat. Option to either reach through and thread the needle, or place a hand on top of your knee, or simply allow gravity to just create a little extra work. Sink your upper body into the mat as much as possible. Notice if you created any extra tension in your shoulders. And on your next exhale, let's gently release. Bring that right foot back down towards the floor. Uncross your left leg to meet it. Windshield wipe your legs in both directions. Coming towards the end of our practice today. Draw your knees towards your chest. Before you draw those knees towards your chest, really glue that lower back down towards the floor. So find some engagement of your abdominal core. Relax your shoulders into the mat. Upper body is supported. I like to draw one leg up at a time to really make sure I can continue to enjoy the support I just found in my upper body. My legs are relaxed side by side, a little bit wide to the side of my body. Use your breath here. Shoulders are released away from ears. Can you find a gentle stretch of your elbows towards your hips? Maybe your chin is slightly tucked towards your chest, but not to lift your head up off of the mat. Rather, to get as much of your neck and head vertebrae on the mat as possible. Take one more big inhale. And on your exhale, just exhale. On this next breath, we're going to use our exhale to either rock ourselves up like a ball, or feel free to roll over to whichever side is comfortable for you and press yourself up to a seated position. I'm going to rock myself up like a ball, or an Easter egg, or all the eggs I ate for Passover. And let's come back to a seated position. So actually this is our first time in Sukhasana today. So come into any sort of seated posture that feels right for you. Come back to your breath here. Relax your shoulders away from your ears. Take a big inhale. Bring your arms up overhead, but find the lift from your waist, not just shoulders coming towards your ears. And exhale, we're going to come into a spine twist. Turn to whichever side feels right for you. I have my left hand to the outside of my right knee, my right hand fingertips close by the base of my spine. On the next exhale, a little extra lift of the chest, a little extra relaxation of those arms. We'll use our Next, big inhale to bring both arms back up overhead. Shoulders released away from ears, belly pulled tight, length from the waist, and exhale, turn to the opposite side. Two more breaths right here. On your next inhale, bring the head. Go ahead, relax your right arm down towards the floor and reach over with your left arm. Get a nice extra stretch towards your lower back, especially if you turn your chest towards the floor. Open your chest up to the side wall. Find some reach through this extended left hand fingertips. To help work the stretch into that lower back, inhale, lift yourself up. Exhale, relax your left hand down towards the floor. I switched right and left today back to normal because I was driving to Virginia yesterday, or a couple days ago. Exhale, turn your chest towards the floor. Inhale, open yourself up. And it said to stay in the right lane. And I 100% moved over to the left lane because I was so confused between right and left. Inhale, open yourself up, and let's lift ourselves up once more. Bring both arms up overhead. Exhale, bring your hands down to heart to center and find yourself in Namaskar. Shoulders released away from your ears. Sit bones are ground with the floor. Your belly is still contracted. Take a moment right now to just notice how your body's feeling. Does it feel different than when you started class? What about your breath? Is it easier to bring a smile to your face? I hope you feel any or all of these things a little bit more relaxed and refreshed after today's class. If you have any questions or concerns about anything that I said or we did, I hope that you would reach out. So you see me again, continue to think good thoughts. Speak good words, do good deeds, eat good foods, and all the things that nourish us from the inside out. If you'd like to bring your thumb up to your drishti, your third eye, and then lift your beautiful faces, your hearts, your arms up towards the ceiling as you open yourself to all the possibilities that are out there. Know that the light within me honors, is so thankful for, and sees the light within you. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. Namaste.